How often do you meet with clients? I don't really have any complaints with our current advisor, but it seems like we had intense interaction a few years ago when we set up our account, but not much since, and not much activity, even in turbulent markets. Is that standard? Not at Retire Smart, David.
Well, not here, but is it standard? Sadly, yes.
Okay.
That is very realistic of what you get at a lot of firms. In fact, we had somebody that was referred to the Husker Night that came up to me and introduced themselves. Hey, we're a big fan. They've been listening to you and I for many years on the radio, and they happen to be clients of a firm that has a radio show in one of our marketplaces as well. And they were like, well, we don't want to tell you who we're with, but it's a really boring radio show. So I kind of, it's like I took a shot in the dark and said a name. He goes, yeah, how'd you know? But anyway, but they asked that. They went through that same thing. It seemed like a lot of love for about 3 weeks and then crickets in 4 years. And I was like, well, what about your annual review? Well, we don't do them. We've done one, and we did it about 3 years after we signed up, and we called for it.
Goodness.
And I'm like, well, that's not really doing what we call the fiduciary standard, right?
Yeah.
So, but the cadence depends upon the client here. We specifically tailor the plan to the client, but most clients are going to have 4 to 6 meetings in the first 12 to 18 months. So it's a lot because there's more work when you're setting up the plan. But from there, it typically breaks down to 1 typical formal review a year, sometimes 2 formal reviews a year, depending on the breadth and scope of the plan. And then we invite clients to educational events in between. We have touch points in between, phone calls scheduled, et cetera. So yeah, you should have some regular cadence, but we have some clients that don't want to come in that often, and we want to tailor the planning process to the client.
Sure.
And everybody has different needs depending on their age and what have you. And that's why we don't have the same exact fee schedule for every client, because the breadth and scope of the work provided will vary greatly. But it is all tailored.
But you have to have the regular contact because there are so many scenarios, so many transactions. You've got to plan for them ahead of time, 6 months or a year ahead. You've got to be looking ahead and getting things in position. There are certain windows for certain transactions.
Right.
And if you miss them, you miss them.
We automatically know to invite people when they turn 64 into the Medicare classes that year, because they're going to have to make a decision before their next birthday. We automatically know to talk to people at 62 for Social Security. Most of the time we're not recommending you turn it on, but that's your first option, and we can have that discussion if you haven't already had it with your advisor. 59 and a half, 60, 63. These are all red letter ages, 70, 72, 73, 75, all red letter ages depending upon what year you're born, et cetera.
That's another thing. When you offer 120 or 130 classes and events to your clients and the public, that also helps keep the contact regular, I guess, as well. Yeah, that should be a red flag if you've got an advisor who's just on automatic pilot and isn't engaging.